Today's seminar is going to be on how to lose those last 5 kilos. My name is Faresh and I'm here with Amino Zed, and this is webinar number 4. So how to lose those last 5 kilos. Some of the things we're going to talk about today include, well, why are the first 5 or 10 so easy and the last 5 so tough? We're going to talk about how to plan your training, your exercise routines, the fitness side. We're then going to talk about how to plan your food intake. So of course nutrition is going to have a big part in those last 5 kilos. We're going to talk about the difference between working in the fat burning zone and working out in a high intensity zone. That one I thought it would be a good part of this because I find a lot of people asking questions about the fat burning zone. And finally, the last topic we're going to cover is how to use supplements to achieve your goal. So, why is it so easy to lose those first few in the beginning? You lose very quickly, a decent amount of weight. The first week, the first 4 weeks tend to be easy, and then as you go along it gets harder and harder. This is something that occurs because the body is designed to fluctuate up and down in weight within a certain range. So if your natural set weight is 130 pounds, for example, I'll say that in kilos, so for a woman, if your average size is going to be 65 kilos, you will naturally fluctuate between 62 and 68 depending on the food intake that you're having. So you'll always notice that the first few kilos will go up and down very easily depending on your intake, and after that, to lose more or to gain more, you really have to push through a sort of a threshold or through a plateau. If you think about how humans sort of evolved through evolution, we're naturally supposed to go through starvation cycles and then feast cycles. So when there's no food, our bodies are used to burning fat for energy, and then when we're in a feast phase, we're used to conserving as much as possible and saving up for the next time that we may have to starve. However, as you lose weight, your body assumes that you're going through a starve cycle, so you've reduced your intake by quite a bit, and the body sort of thinks that you're going through a starvation cycle, so it'll lose the first few very naturally, then it starts to get a little concerned, and your body will start to conserve as much as possible that you've got coming in, which sort of, you've hit the threshold of weight loss, and now your body's going to be trying to be very careful to make sure that you are using as much as possible by saving it. So that, I hope that clears up a little bit about why it's tough to lose the last few. So that basically means that diets where you have cut out a lot of the total calories that you're taking in, they're not really good long-term solutions because it gives the body an idea that there's not enough that's going to be coming in, and it slows the metabolism down to accommodate for that, and in the long run it's not the most effective way of maintaining your weight loss. That's because as soon as you start to eat again, your body will just start to gain the weight right back as soon as possible. Of course, there is a way of losing the last few, and anyone can do it. You've just got to make sure that you've got the right training plan in order and that you've got the right nutrition plan in order. So how can you plan your training? So essentially, the simple answer is to train more. Train harder. And if you're training regularly and you feel like it's a pretty tough workout, well, A, you can continue, or B, you can make it tougher on yourself. It's always a good idea to have a second party there, a trainer or a friend or someone else who can push you to do better. That's obviously shown in many studies to have a very positive impact on training. We work out harder when we have someone there who we're accountable to. If that's a running buddy or if that's a trainer or whoever, it is always better to train with someone. Also be sure that in your training you are using your muscles as much as possible. So jogging is not an efficient way of burning energy and to continue burning energy for your body. For example, you go for a jog, you burn 100 calories, it takes you 20 minutes, half an hour. Well, those calories could have been burned much quicker if you were doing exercises which put a demand on the muscles. So make sure that you've got resistance training. If you can do dynamic training, training that is circuit training or cross training or something that's continuous, something that uses several systems at the same time, that's a better way of training. Why? Simply because you're going to be able to burn more calories in a shorter amount of time. In addition to that, how many days a week should you be training? Well, train as much as you can. It's difficult to overtrain if you are doing general high-intensity training. So that's to say that if you are doing specifically strength training or bodybuilding style training, you do need more recovery days. However, if you're doing continuous bouts of 20, 30, 40, an hour-long exercise, you can do that for several days in a row. And if you are training 4 days a week or 3 or 4 days a week, which is a reasonable amount, make sure that on your off days, you're doing active recovery. So you are going out and going for a walk, going for a light jog for a short amount of time, you're doing your stretching, you're doing little bits of extra things that you can do, even if it means that you're at work and you're taking the stairs at work, or you are walking further to get to the bus, or just implementing small things into your daily life that can make you more active and can increase your amount of calories burned, amount of energy burned. So all those little tricks that you can do, add them in, move as much as you can, and continue training really, really hard. That's going to be a big part of losing those last bits. Next, we're going to talk about how to work your food intake. So the food is really 70% of your weight loss. So you've got to be real careful and very in control of what you eat, how much you're eating. A general rule of thumb when it comes to losing the last 5 kilos is to eat more of the right foods. So go ahead, eat as much as you can, but make sure you're eating the right foods. You can never eat too much vegetable, especially vegetables that have no calories. So you can eat as much as you want of leafy greens, of things like tomatoes, cucumber, sweet peppers, hot peppers, things like that. Go nuts. Enjoy. Eat as much as you can. Eat a variety of different colors of vegetables, cauliflower, green things, red things, radishes, things like that. Eat as much as you can of them. These foods are going to help to fill you up with good amounts of fiber. It's going to load you up on your vitamins and minerals, something that's really, really important. And then also eat more fats and eat more protein. So fats, you're going to get good fats out of things like fish, eggs, oils, avocados, coconut oil, olive oil. Those kinds of fats are going to help you to burn more fat. So it's time to stop thinking about fats in a negative way. Fats are really, really important for a whole variety of functions, and it's also used as energy in the body. And when we consume those healthy fats, it helps us to function smoother, helps our nerves to function smoother, and it helps to break down certain vitamins and minerals. So certain vitamins and minerals are absorbed and broken down by fat alone. And so it's important that you have a good amount of those foods coming in so that you can function optimally. In addition, fats are also, you can eat a small amount of fat and it will fill you up. And similar to that is protein. When it comes to protein, well, you can eat as much protein as you want, and whatever the body doesn't use, it'll get rid of. So you can think of protein as a sort of space filler. So we know that a person who is very active does not require any more than 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So for a 100 kilo person, that means that you shouldn't be eating, you don't need more than 200 grams per day of protein. However, if you feel hungry, the best foods to go to are going to be either fats or proteins. So instead of reaching for a cookie, reach for a glass of milk, for example, and you're getting a lot more of the healthier foods in you that are not going to stay in you and become fat. So the more protein you eat, the more full you'll feel for longer, and any excess protein is going to be expelled by the body. What you have to watch out for when we're in that last end zone is to eat less sugar. Sugar is what's going to be your worst enemy, and that can be sugar from processed foods, which of course we're cutting out completely here. There's no junk foods, there's no breads, no pastas, no rice, and the sugars that you can eat should be coming from low GI foods. Low GI foods, that means low glycemic index foods. Essentially that means foods that are complex carbohydrates. So if you have to eat sugar, which of course we do have to eat a small amount, make sure that those foods are coming from complex carbohydrates. Things like berries are possibly the best, healthiest sugar that you can eat, and that should be enough. So a little bit of fruit, a little bit of berries, things like that, that's going to give you a really great source of sugar, energy, carbohydrates, and that'll help you really get into the end zone. I also like to reiterate that losing those last few, well, if you're a person who has to lose weight, it's because something extreme has happened to cause you to gain weight. Weight loss and weight gain, though it is natural within a certain range, like I mentioned, if you're 65 kilos, you know, 3, maybe maximum 4 kilos up and down, that's very natural for a human being. But if you're gaining, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 kilos overweight, that's a serious issue that's been caused by a serious poor eating habit. If you've gained so much weight, well, that's an extreme response. Your body is responding in an extreme way. And to lose weight, it should be conversely thought of as an extreme effect. So you have got to flip it around and eat equally as well as you were eating poorly beforehand. So simply eating what you're supposed to eat often isn't enough. It might be enough to lose the first beginning, but eating what you're supposed to eat to maintain weight will help you maintain your weight. And if you want to come all the way back down, well, you've got to do something extreme to cause that reaction. So even though this type of diet plan seems impossible or like an extreme diet, well, in a sense it is an extreme diet because you want your body to do something extreme. So gaining and losing weight, they're not pleasant experiences. It's something unnatural for the body to do an extreme weight loss. And if that's what you want, to lose that last little bit, and that's what's necessary, then by all means go for it. Hopefully in the long run you'll create better habits so you won't be reaching for things that are simple sugars. I should also warn you that in losing those last 5, taking an extreme diet where you eat very, very, very little sugars, that changes your moods a little bit because sugar is an addictive food, and when you cut it out completely, or when you cut out an extreme amount of sugar, you kind of go through withdrawal. So you might experience headaches, you might experience mood swings, you'll be grumpy, you'll feel really hungry, but that usually wears off after the first week. So once you get started, once you're in the second week or third week, you'll start to feel a lot better. You'll start to feel like you're processing, things are moving in your head normally, you'll feel less sluggish, and hopefully your energy levels will come back up. Finally, I want to talk about the fat burning zone. If you use any sort of cardiovascular equipment, or maybe you've looked it up, the fat burning zone. In cardiovascular activity, you have something called the fat burning zone, and I've seen this on all kinds of treadmills, ellipticals, stationary bicycles, rowing machines, and a lot of gyms post up a chart showing your age and your fat burning zone. So you'll be in the fat burning zone if you're doing a low intensity activity. It can be like a brisk walk or something, and the body is using fat for energy, so that's why they call it the fat burning zone. Fat burning zone it is true, your body could potentially be using fat for energy when you're working in that fat burning zone, which is a low intensity zone. However, ask yourself which is better, losing 3 or 4 calories a minute or losing 10 to 15 calories per minute. Because that's the difference between low and high intensity exercise. If you're doing high intensity intervals on a stationary bike and your heart rate is through the roof and you're burning 4 times as much, up to potentially 4 times as much energy per minute, well, which is better? The fat burning zone, the problem with the fat burning zone is that though you are burning fat calories for energy, A, the machine doesn't know if you actually are. B, you won't even start to hit that zone until after at least 30 minutes of exercise. And C, it doesn't last any longer than the actual moment that you're doing it. So the fat burning zone, it doesn't really work. When you're doing high intensity exercise, so working as hard as you can, going all out. You've seen intervals, sort of a minute high, a minute low, a minute high, a minute low, and you can play with those intervals as you like. When you're in that zone, you finish after 20 minutes, you've done the equivalent of an hour of slow intensity work, and your body will continue to burn energy long after the exercise is complete. And this sort of training has been proven to cause weight loss far more often than low intensity exercise where you're working in your fat burning zone. Don't forget, 1 pound of fat is the equivalent of 3,500 calories. So how many minutes of slow intensity exercise do you have to do in order to get 1 pound of fat gone? So those are some important things to note. I hope that clears up the fat burning zone issue. The last topic that I'm going to cover now is how to use supplements to achieve your goal. Tons of supplements out there. How do you know which ones are right? Supplements are a massive industry, so I love covering this in all the webinars, how supplements can help you or how they won't help you much. The good thing here is that if you're losing your last few, sometimes supplements can be a huge help. You just have to be careful which ones you choose. Make sure that you're looking for the ones that use the that have a lot of protein. You want low sugar ones, so you always have to check the label. Make sure you've got 0 grams of sugar in your later in the day supplements. So the ones that you're going to be having before bed or post-workout if you work out in the afternoon, those things should have very low sugar, more protein, lots of fiber, and those ones will be good. Also, there are things on the market which are appetite suppressants, and I'm not a huge fan personally for my goals, but if you are really trying to lose those last few and you've tried everything, go ahead and try an appetite suppressant. These usually come in the forms of green tea, and it's just got some ingredients in there that will literally make you feel less hungry. If you're a person who has a hard time with portion control, appetite suppressants might be a good solution for you. And there's all kinds of other ones out there, fat burners and things like that. You can go ahead and give it a try if it's going to be like a replacement for a high-calorie meal. That's not a bad idea. And finally, supplements can be used as your in-betweeners. So if you can't make 6 meals a day, which are really small, and keep to those sort of portions, you can always grab a supplement that is going to be a meal replacement, and that should help you stay on track. So that's it for this one. A nice little quick webinar on how you can lose the last 5, and I really hope that you guys are successful in your weight loss. My name is Fareshte. I'm with Amino Zed, and stay tuned for next week's topic. We're going to talk about technique correction and technique cues for the most popular exercises, where I'll be demonstrating the exercises for you guys. So take care, and I'll see you soon.